In this video, we're going to study the properties of a kite. A kite is a quadrilateral. It's got four sides, obviously, but unlike squares, rhombus, and rectangle that we just studied, a kite is not a parallelogram. The four sides do not necessarily parallel, right? So let's look at some of the other interesting things about a kite. Even though we don't find parallel lines, but we have two pairs of consecutive congruent sides, meaning this side and this side are congruent, and they're consecutive, meaning they're connected with each other. And BC and CD are congruent, and again, they are congruent to each other. I'm sorry, they're consecutive to each other, right next to each other. And because of that, notice my triangle ABC must be congruent to triangle ADC by SSS, because I have 1, 2, and a shared side, right? And therefore my angle B and D must be congruent. So that's where this comes from. One pair of opposite angles are congruent. Also, another observation, this pair of congruent angles are included angles by two non-congruent sides. Okay? And finally, diagonals are perpendicular to each other. So that's the same as rhombus. Now let's look at how we can solve some problems with these properties. First one, I have two known angles, and I'm asked to find angle B and angle D. Now, I don't know if B or D is congruent to either one. However, if you notice, if I connect AC, I've got two triangles here, and in the case of angle B, AB and BC are not congruent. Therefore, I know that B and D are congruent. If B and D are congruent, quadrilateral interior angles adds up to 360. So I just need to use 360, subtract 85 from it, subtract 83, and I should have, if I call this x, I should have 2x. So my final solution for x is 116 degrees. Same thing with number 2. If you look at it, the angle that has non-congruent sides is 82. Therefore, this angle must be 82. So that's angle J. If angle J is 82, 360 minus 82 minus 82 again minus 71, I should have 125 degrees. Okay. Let's look at this one. This one, only this part is given. If this is 37, because these are equilateral, so this part must be 37 degrees as well. And if we know that this is 90 degrees, so 90 minus 37 must be 53 degrees, right? So each of this is 53 degrees. This is 53 degrees. Therefore, let's see if I have enough. I think I've got enough information. I'm asked to find PTQ. PTQ is obviously 90 degrees because of this property. Diagonals are perpendicular in a kite. PQT I just solved is here, 53 degrees. And QRT I solved here. That's not a square, that's a degree. That's 37 degrees. Okay. Try number 4 on your own, and I'll write the answers out for you. Pause the video and come back and check your answers. So let's look at these questions. Here I've got 65. If I know that that's 65, this must be 65 for angle 4 because we know that this is equilateral. I'm sorry, equilateral. This is isosceles triangle here. They're congruent. So angle 4 is 65 degrees. And if I know 52 is here, this must be, number 7 must be 52 degrees. Because again, these are congruent. And if this is perpendicular, I've got a perpendicular bisector, and therefore this is bisecting the opposite angles. That's number 7. So if I know, I'm going to erase this so that you can see this more clearly. If I know this whole angle is 52 times 4, so that's 104. And 5 and 6 must be the same. So angle 5 and 6 plus 104 is 180 in that triangle, right? So I should have 76 between 5 and 6. And if I divide them by 2, so 5 and 6 should be 38 degrees. That's 38. And angle 1 and 2, so same thing. Well, the easiest thing is angle 3. We forgot about that, 90 degrees. And so angle 1 and 2, I already figured out this is 65. So angle 2 and angle 4 must add up to 90 because angle 3 is 90 degrees, right? So 90 minus 65 gives me 25 degrees. And angle 1 and angle 2 are exactly the same. Okay, so finish number 6. I'll give you the answers here. Okay, number 7, WX is 14 and WR is 8. We have to find RZ. RZ is right here. Okay, notice RZ is the same as XR. Or actually, let's do this because this side and this side, the consecutive sides are congruent, right? So this must be 14. Therefore, in this triangle, WRZ, this is a right triangle, I've got a Pythagorean theorem going on. So I can have 8 squared plus x squared should equal 14 squared. And that's 64 plus x squared equals 196. And x is about 11.5. So my final answer is RZ is 11.5. In other words, remember to take advantage of this right triangle, this right angle here. Okay. This one is exactly the same. I will give you the final answer and you can show me the process. 9 and 10 are exactly the same or very similar as well. So I'm gonna make you do it and I'll tell you the answer. Here is 8.8 and for number 10 is about 27.5. Okay. From 11 onwards, it's very much the same, except that it has a little bit of algebra in it. So let's look at it. We've got a kite here, and notice that these two angles are sandwiched between two non-congruent sides. Therefore, this is your pair of congruent angles. So all you need to do is to set it up like this, and that should be 6x on the left, 54 on the right, x is 9. Okay. should highlight these. And so for number 12 is the same way. So see if you can solve it on your own. Your final answer should be 113. Let's look at the last four. This one I'm asked to solve for x, and x is here. Let's see, what do I know? I know that these two angles do not equal each other because they're sandwiched by two congruent sides, right? It's angle B and angle D are congruent to each other. So how should I do this then? So we first need to find out what is angle D. What is what is the angle? How can I add up angle C, angle A, and angle C? We know that I don't know that they're not equal. I know that, but other than that, I don't know very much. However, I know that if I just use 360 minus 109 times 2, I would have the sum of these two angles. So that's 140. And the sum of these two angles is simply 5x plus 14 plus 3x plus 8. So now that should be 140, right? This, all I'm doing is that I'm substituting this with the writing up on top. So your final answer is x should equal 15. Number 14, very similar. I'm asked to, I'll do it halfway for you. I'm asked to find STV. STV is here. So I'm going to call this x, okay? Actually, I can't call it x because I've got x there. Better not confuse you. Sorry about that. So let me erase that. So I'm asked to find this angle here. Really what I'm asked to find is also, it's basically this angle, 9x plus 1, because they are congruent, right? And this is a perpendicular bisector, and because these two sides are congruent. So how do I do this one? I know that this is 90 degrees, therefore my setup should be 9x plus 1 plus 23x minus 7 must be 90 degrees. And then if you do that, you should have x comes out to be 3. And now if you plug in 9x plus 1, your measure for STV, angle STV is 28 degrees. Finally, the last one, again, we said that in the kite, the diagonals are perpendicular, and because looking at this triangle, this is isosceles triangle FIG, right? And if I have an isosceles triangle, that means this is my perpendicular bisector, and this diagonal also bisects this angle. So the setup is 5x minus 1 equals 2x plus 11. My x comes out to be 4, and if you plug it in, your final answer for FGJ is 90 degrees minus 2x plus 11. And that should be 90 degrees minus 19 degrees, which gives you 71 degrees. Okay, I went over this a little bit faster, but I hope you see that this angle here and this angle here adds up to 90 degrees because this is 90 degrees. And if that happens, you solve for x. Once you solve for x, you can find out what this 2x plus 11 is. and you are asked to find FGJ, which is this angle with a 2 tick mark. Number 16 is the same thing, so do the practice on your own. I will give you the answer here. You should have exactly 50 degrees. Okay, thank you guys. I will see you in class. Bye-bye.